Well, let's speak to Mark Thompson, who's an astronomer. He joins us now from Norwich. Very good morning to you, Mark. Do you fancy the trip yourself with your, I don't know, if you're with your partner, maybe?
I think probably not, actually. I mean, we're talking about being stuck in a shed to all intents, or, a camper van, and being stuck with someone for 501 days in such a small confinement. I think I'd go mad.
Well, so who do you think will be suitable? Because that's the big question, isn't it?
It is the big question. I think it's going to have to take, and they're looking to find an older couple, so people whose relationship has already stood the test of time. We know that they'll get on well together, and also they're looking at an older couple because the effects of radiation from space will have less of an impact on their health and on the fertility. So they're looking for an older couple who are clearly game for anything.
It is interesting, isn't it? Because the focus here seems to be on their relationship rather than any kind of experience in space travel. So could actually realistically pretty much anyone apply, do you think?
It could be. I think the key thing really is that, you're going to be cooped up with this person for 501 days. Now, that is going to test your psychology, and I think that is going to be the biggest challenge. There's a lot of technical issues to overcome before we can actually get this mission off the ground, but probably the biggest impact is going to be the effect on the human psyche, and we just don't really know how it's going to affect them. We've done simulations on the Earth where people have been cooped up for a couple of years, but to be cooped up in space with no fresh air and, as you say, recycled water, all that kind of stuff, it's going to have a big impact on the human mind. I think that's the key thing to solve.
Yes, I think we said in our report that the longest previous mission, time spent in space, is 438 days. Now, that's a very, very long time. What have we learnt in the past about the effect that has on people's minds?
As far as on people's minds, they've actually had quite a large area of space, if I use the word space, that they can actually live in. So they've had quite a big habitable area, which is probably one of the biggest things to overcome. But one of the greatest things, of course, is that we just don't know how individuals, just two people, will coexist together. We know that there are physical effects of being in space for a long period of time, such as the effect on the muscle and on the bone structure, but we're not fully understanding what's going to happen for a 500-day mission.
So from that point of view, very interesting for all of you if it manages to happen. Tell us about the actual journey itself, because it has to happen within a sort of certain time frame, doesn't it? Because Mars is, what, a little bit closer to us?
Yeah, the whole idea is that the mission is supposed to launch in January 2018, which is just 5 years away. So it's actually not a long while to plan such an ambitious mission. But all it's going to do is going to fly. I say all it's going to do. It's going to fly to Mars. It's going to fly around Mars. If I was going to go there, I'd be pretty cheesed off to get all that way there and not actually land on the planet. So I think that that's going to be a tricky one to overcome. But it's going to fly around Mars, fly around the sort of the backside of the planet, and then fly straight back home again. So there's no stop off, there's no stopping at the planet, going down to the surface. It simply is a flyby to get to the planet and then come back again. And that trip is going to take 501 days. And they've even planned that they need something like 28 kilograms of toilet paper. So they've planned quite a lot of it to some degree, but some of the more technical, challenging issues they haven't quite resolved yet.
Yes, you use that word, they simply fly there and fly back. But, there is enormous risk involved in any space mission, and presumably the length of time you're out there just adds to that.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And one of the other key risks, of course, is radiation, because when you're in space, you're not protected by the magnetic field of the Earth from all the radiation that comes from the sun and from the rest of the galaxy. So there's all this radiation sort of whizzing around that when, for example, the Apollo astronauts went to the moon, they had a little bit of protection, even when they're on the moon's surface, from the magnetic field of the Earth. But to go to Mars, there's absolutely no protection at all. So we just don't know quite how we're going to overcome that just yet.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. Good to speak to you. And we'll
I love
find
the
out
details. What do you say?
Course.
28 kilograms of loo roll.
That's a lot, isn't it?